Hello everybody, Tom here, otherwise known as Scary Spikes, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. Today we'll be talking about bounty hunting and giving you all the information that you need as a new player to get started and make some decent money from it as well. Before we get started, just wanted to let you know that I now stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. Link to that will be in the description below. We also have a brand new Discord, which is really cool. We just put that up a few days ago, and it's a new Discord for all of our community members to come out, hang out with us, chat, and play some games. And of course, a link for that will also be in the description. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. So you want to be a bounty hunter. Great. Well, 3.12 is actually a really great patch to get into bounty hunting because there's quite a few changes that make it a little bit more accessible and add a little bit of depth to it as well. So the first thing that you'll need, of course, as a bounty hunter is a ship. That's a no-brainer. But which ship to pick? Well, if you've seen my video about the two basic game packages, up on the top right hand corner of the screen now, if you haven't seen it, and you've picked up yourself either a Mustang Alpha or a RSI Aurora MR, those two ships are not too bad to get started with bounty hunting, but you'll probably want something a little bit more durable and also something with a little bit more firepower. If you haven't picked up a game package, I will be making another video about the Avenger Titan, and that is actually the ship that I would recommend to get started in bounty hunting to make your first space bucks in. So happy enough that I have a Aegis Avenger Titan here to show you as well. It's currently over at a different landing zone. Actually, no, it's right here in Everest Harbor. That's perfect. Let's go ahead and retrieve that. You can access these consoles at any major landing area or also any R&R or rest and relax station. These are available over at Loreville, which is on Hurston, Area 18, which is on ArcCorp, New Babbage, which is on Microtech, and Port Olisar, which is near Crusader, as well as on the major rest and relax stations that are orbiting around those planets. As we can see here, we've got our ship on pad number 2. Go ahead and head over there, and as we're heading over there, I'll just kind of explain my choice and why I think it's a good ship. So the Avenger Titan overall, even just without even considering bounty hunting, is just a great overall ship. And the reason for that is because first of all, it's got a fantastic Gimbaled weapons package. I'll go over that in just a moment, and that just comes straight out of the factory, which is really nice. You get a couple of laser repeaters, which are usually really good against shields, and you have a nice Gatling gun, which is usually really good against hulls. And beyond that, it's just a really nice ship. It's pretty durable, it's easy to fly, it has really good maneuverability, and also it's quite good for other things around the game as well. So you can do light cargo missions with it. You have up to 8 SCU or standard cargo units that you can put in there, and of course you can also do box missions if that's your jam. So it's a really great all-around ship, and the good news is that you can buy it in a game package, so you can also melt down any ships that you may currently have, and you can go ahead and use that towards the purchase of an Avenger Titan with a game package if you don't already have one of those on your account. So we're going to go ahead and fly this ship today, and I'll show you everything that you need to know. We'll be, first of all, just looking at weapons and the loadout of the ship. And by the way, if you want to get a little bit more information about the weapons and the loadout of not just this ship, but any ship in the game, you can go ahead and head over to urkel.games. I'll just make sure to link that in the description below. And it's a really great resource that can give you information about different types of ships, which ones are good for what kind of loadouts are good. And also, it's a great platform for you to share and download other people's loadouts so that you can kind of get a head start without having to worry too much. So the first thing that we're going to look at are the weapons on the ship, and of course you can just see them out here. It is a little bit dark. We've got that nice Gatling gun on the front, and then of course we have some laser repeaters here under each wing. Now, the type of weapons that you choose for bounty hunting are going to be quite important, and there's some good reasons why here. First of all, Gatling guns are ballistic weapons. That means they fire ballistic projectiles, and those are usually very effective against the hull or the body of a ship, but not particularly effective against their shields. The opposite is true for energy weapons like lasers. They're really good against damaging shields, but they're not as effective as doing damage to a hull. Now, of course, certain parts of a ship might be a little bit more resistant or vulnerable to different types of damage, but overall, that's pretty much the hierarchy. Now, very recently, there has also been a new element type released, or at least, it's just recently gotten good, and that would be distortion weapons. Distortion weapons are unique in the game in that they do damage directly to the hull, bypassing the shields altogether. although those do also have their own downsides, advantages and disadvantages and things like that. So we're just going to go ahead and get into the ship here and get started. You can press R to fire up your ship, and you'll have it flight ready. If for some reason one of your systems is down, so for example if your power is down, you can go ahead and press U to start the power up, like so. Okay, and then also you might notice that your shields are going to be restarting, so that's completely normal. If your power is off, your shields will take a little bit of time to recharge. Additionally, you can also press I to cycle your engines on and off, but if your ship is dark and cold and you go into your ship and press R, the ship will power up and have the engines turned on for you automatically, and it'll be what's called flight ready. At this point, we're pretty much ready to take off, and I just wanted to draw your attention very closely to this panel here. Now, this might look a little bit different on your ship if you're not using exactly the same one as me. To get to this panel, you simply want to navigate to one of the MFDs or multi-function displays of your ship. Click on the menu on the top left-hand corner and go over to the weapons tab and just simply left click on that. Just going to go over quickly here what this information is showing you, because it's really important to understand this in order to understand your weapons and to keep track of it, as you'll need to do so when you're bounty hunting. So first and foremost, as we can see here, we have some on buttons. So here we can actually turn on and off different weapon systems at will. So at this point, you can see that our missiles have been turned off here. We can go ahead and click on this to turn that on, and repeat the same process for your other weapons if you desire. So looking at the top here, we can see that we have some information about our weapon systems. Just go ahead and turn that back on if we can. There we go. So this is your first set of guns, your second set of guns, and of course missiles down here. And these are your power requirements over here. So they're relatively low. And as you can see here, as we went over this already, they're all on. Moving over, you can get a more detailed look at the guns that are on your ship by going over to the guns tab here. Relatively self-explanatory. This will tell you what the fire group is. So if you have your HOTAS, for example, your mouse and keyboard hooked up to fire different groups of weapons, then this is how you can coordinate that. Additionally, you have your power buttons here as in the previous screen. And you have some descriptors over here, so you can see the Mantis Gatling gun that we were looking at. That's the one that's mounted on the nose. We can see that we have 4,000 ammo, and we can see some information about the actual weapon here. And additionally, we do have the 2 Badger laser repeaters. And again, these ones, they have unlimited ammo, and the Gatling gun here has 4,000 rounds. So finite amount of ammo here, infinite amount of ammo on this side here. Okay. This you don't have to worry about too much at the moment. We're just looking at the very basics, but this is basically your power draw. This is the health. This, to be honest, I'm not really quite sure. If you know what that is, do let us know in the comments. This also, I'm not exactly 100% quite sure what these last 2 tabs are. So if you know what those are, make sure to comment in the comment section below so that the rest of the community can learn. Okay, it tells you how much I do bounty hunting. Really not all that much, but enough to know the basics so I can teach you here. Moving on, we can look at the missile loadout on the ship. Now, on this particular ship, we don't have a huge loadout of missiles. We have only 4 available. But if you have more missiles, you can prioritize which missile you want to use by clicking on this button here. If you have different rows, you can also set a button for this in the settings. For your keybinds, so you can go ahead and switch missile types and have a dedicated button for that, like I do, and it just makes it a little bit easier instead of, in the heat of battle having to look down on your screen and having to click on these little buttons here. In any case, there's a few things that you need to know. So first of all is the name of the missile. In this case, it's an Ignite missile. The number beside it is the size of the missile, which can also be seen over here. This is the type of missile that you have. So there's a few different types that lock onto IR or EM signatures. In this case, this one is a cross section, so locks onto the cross section of the ship. Here you can see the type of missile that it is. So most missiles that are offensive missiles, in most cases are strike missiles, but there are a couple of different varieties, and you'll see that on Oracle.games if you go over and check that out. And this will tell you exactly how many you have on board. You can go ahead and restock these using this menu. So if you're on a pad, actually we probably should take off because we're gonna get stuck here. But if you're on the pad, if you're on a supported pad, you can go ahead and just open up your mobiGlas. And then on the second last tab here, you'll see that you can repair. Restock is what's going to restock the ammunition for all of your weapons. So in this case, we don't need to restock our ammo for our laser repeaters because that has infinite ammo. But for example, if we were to use some of our Gatling gun ammo, we'd be able to restock that using this button, as well as any missiles that we've expended. And then, of course, refuel your hydrogen and your quantum. If you don't know about this, I can link you on the top right-hand corner of the screen here to another video that I did, which will be a comprehensive guide to explain all of that for you. Okay, so you've got yourself a ship and you understand the weapons that are on the ship. You can actually go ahead and adjust your weapons as well. We'll just go ahead and fly here in a straight line, and I'll tell you how you can adjust and change the weapons and the systems in your ship to suit your liking. So let's say, for example, that you've gone to Urkel Games and you've seen that, okay, maybe it's better to use distortion weapons. Well, how do you change them? Well, first of all, you'll want to go over to the vehicle loadout manager here. But just keep in mind that your ship will need to be landed, and it'll need to be stored in the same space station where you currently are in order for you to change any of this. And you'll need to have bought replacement parts. So you would need to have bought either components or different weapons or mounts or anything like that ahead of time before doing this. If you see a red padlock here beside your ship, it means that you're either in the ship or the ship is in another station and you're not able to remotely manipulate its loadout. So you'll need to make sure that you're in the same station as the ship that you'd like to manipulate here, and then you'll also make sure that the ship is stored, otherwise you will not get the option to do so. So if we click on this, we can see that this says read only, so we can still see the different types of components that we have on our ship. So here we can see in the MISC column, we have a number of different missile racks, and we can see the type of missile, as well as if we click in here, it'll give you additional information about the type of slot that it is. Most of the time, you'll actually be able to see different types of missiles here if you have them available, and of course, if your ship is landed and you're not in read-only status. Going over to propulsion, you can see the current quantum drive that we have installed, as well as going over to our systems tab here, you can see the coolers, as well as the power plant and shield generators that we have. And of course, this is the rest of the weaponry on the ship. The weaponry consists of usually mounts, and then under each of the mounts are different types of weapons. The main two types of weapons are gimbaled weapons and basically statically mounted weapons, or fixed weapons as they're called. And they do have their advantages and disadvantages. Before we talk about that, let's just go ahead over to the paint section. I don't have any paints here, but if you have any special paints for your particular ship, you can go ahead and apply them here. Okay, so what's the difference between gimbaled and fixed weapons? Well, as you can imagine, fixed weapons are fixed permanently to your ship. That doesn't mean that you can't change them, it just means that they only fire forward, meaning that you're going to basically have to use your ship to aim in order to fire your weapons. The good news is that as a beginner ship, the Titan actually comes out of the factory with gimbaled weapons, both for the laser repeaters, as well as for the autocannon or the ballistic weapon on the front. So the way that you access that mode is you press G until right down here, you'll see that it says auto. Once you're in auto mode and you see this outline here, you basically need to keep the ship that you're trying to shoot at with your gimbaled weapons inside of this, and as long as it's inside of this, your ship will do its best to aim those gimbaled weapons at the ship, and it's basically sort of like an aim assist to help you to take down a target. It's not going to shoot for you, but it is going to help you aim at that particular target. You should know that gimbaled weapons, sometimes you need to use a lower size than the actual mount of the weapon. So for example, if you have a size 2 mount, but you want to use a gimbaled weapon, you might need to use a size 1 weapon in that size 2 mount. Whereas if you're using a fixed weapon, not only are they much more damage, which of course they're also harder to aim with, but you can also use a larger weapon. This is part of the reason why they have a lot more DPS, and why you can use, for example, a size 2 fixed weapon in a size 2 mount, as we saw in the vehicle manager just prior. So you've got your weapons, you've got your loadout, everything is good to go, and you want to start bounty hunting. One thing actually that I wanted to mention before we get to bounty hunting is if you open up your map and you wanted to go and get some additional weapons or get some additional mounts or missiles or what have you, ship components, the best place to do it right now in the system is over on Microtech. So you'll want to double click on Microtech and go ahead and zoom in here, and you'll see New Babbage. Click on New Babbage, click on Set Route, and then get yourself via quantum travel all the way over there. Again, if you don't know what quantum travel is, I'll have a card in the description, or I'll have a link in the description and a card in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can go check out that video. But basically, you'll want to go over to New Babbage, and you go over to the Commons area, and you basically just follow the signs for Omega Pro, which is a shop that you can buy ship components, and also Center Mass, which is a shop that you can buy weapons and mounts and missiles and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the centralized area where most people get their weapons and their ship components. But since we're okay with the default loadout that we have here, we're just going to go ahead and continue as planned. Okay, so now we're ready to bounty hunt, and we're going to go ahead and open the mobiGlas once again. We're going to go ahead and go over to the contracts manager. A few things to note here. So on the left hand side at the very top, of course, you'll see contracts manager here, so you'll know you're in the right place. Under the general tab is generally where you want to look, and you're looking for the bounty hunter tab over here. And then once you click on that, you'll see a number of different contracts. Now, you might not see as many of these contracts as I have here, and that's probably because you'll have one or two to start in any given jurisdiction. And just so you know, each jurisdiction gives you different sort of certification missions that you need to do in order to unlock different difficulties of bounty hunting. So if we can see over here, for example, we have a HRT, which is a high risk target. Over here, we have a medium risk target. And let's see, then we have a light risk target over here. And we have a... Ooh, that's a doozy. We'll avoid that one. That's very dangerous. But in any case, what you might see before you see these kinds of missions is you might see some certification missions, and they may cost you something like 500 UEC or 1000 UEC to do. I would definitely recommend to do that, but before doing that, just make sure that you're in the jurisdiction where you're spending the most time. The reason for that is because once you do your certification missions in that jurisdiction, for example, Hurston, if you go over to Crusader, for example, or ArcCorp, you may have to do those missions for those organizations over there as well. So just make sure that if you want to start bounty hunting, that you're in the jurisdiction that you enjoy being in the most. And you can see what jurisdiction you're in simply by opening your map. At the moment, I'm currently in Hurston. As you can see here, I'm pretty much really close to Hurston. You can kind of cheat by just hovering over a destination, and you can kind of see where the line is going back to. So we're around Hurston. I do hang around Hurston quite a bit, and I do quite a bit of trading here. So this is an ideal place for me to do bounty hunting. Although you may want to choose, for example, Crusader, because Port Olisar is really close by. And this is also a great place to do PvP, as I'll mention a little bit later in the video. So make sure to stay tuned for that if you like PvP. Okay, so back to it. We're going to go ahead and open up the contracts manager here at the very bottom of the screen and head over to the bounty hunter tab. Go ahead and pick out a bounty. And as we can see up here, we got a new one, which is a VLRT. This is the first certification you'll do, and that stands for very light risk target, meaning that typically it's usually only one person, and sometimes most of the time actually they have a much smaller ship that your Titan should be able to take care of quite easily. Or even if you have an Aurora MR or even a Mustang Alpha, you shouldn't have too much trouble taking care of them. In some rare cases, they will bring along some friends, but again, in most cases, they're much smaller ships, and you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And just before we do that, actually, just so you know, on the personal tab, if you go over to the personal tab, you'll see a bunch of different missions here, but just be very careful here because some of these missions could be illegal and could actually land you a crime stat for completing them. So just be very careful there, unless that's something that you like, in which case, have fun. Okay, so to demonstrate, we'll just go ahead and accept this very light risk target here, and you'll notice on the HUD that we will have a marker appear. So we'll need to move towards that marker, but we'll need to set a route. Now, if this is the only mission that you have, okay, you're going to see that this says on track, and that's because if it's the only mission that you have, it'll be tracked automatically. If you're in a party, you can also share the mission with your party members so that everybody gets benefit for contributing and assisting with the kill. So the next step is to go ahead and head over to the map, and you'll see here that we have like a little glowing icon. You'll just want to double click. Sometimes it's a little difficult. I'll double click on Hurston, and here this is kind of tricky. So usually what I do to help myself out is I zoom in until I can see the moon, then I just double click on the moon, and then usually you should be able to click on this. You'll want to make sure it's a dotted line, click on set routes, and then you'll see that we have a solid line, and this is what you're looking for. Again, more information about this is in the guide linked in the description. If you haven't seen that, make sure to check it out. It gives you a lot of really good information. Okay, and the other way that you know that you're going to the right place is that you see we're going to Ida here, and then we have the rendezvous beacon. So that's what you're looking for. Everything is set, and we can go ahead and press F2 to get out of that screen. And now, as you can see there, we've got the point. Just note that you can't quantum travel to the point itself. You do need to set a route to it, so just make sure you do that. Otherwise, you won't have any luck getting to where you need to go. Go ahead and press B to spool up your quantum drive. Once you've done so, just wait for the calibration process and the spooling process, and when that's complete, just go ahead and hold B, and your ship should quantum travel. If this doesn't happen, don't press B again. Simply move your camera away from the beacon and towards the beacon and let it recalibrate, and then hold B, and you should be able to quantum travel. Many things in the game, unfortunately, still need to be done twice or even sometimes 3 times in order for them to work. This is completely normal. It is an alpha after all, so that should help you if you have any issues with quantum travel. We've made it to Ida here. I'm just going to go ahead and line up with the new beacon. You shouldn't have to wait for the cooldown since that was a pretty short jump, but if you have lower quality quantum drive, you may see on the right hand side of the screen here there may be a little red bar that's ticking all the way down. You'll just need to wait for that before you can jump, but you can still go ahead and spool up your drive and calibrate while you're waiting. Okay, so as you can see here, I've actually turned off my my auto throttle because this can be a particularly dangerous place. And most of these bounties are in these sort of big asteroid fields or asteroid belts, so you'll want to just be very careful here. Now, when you first come on the scene here, when you first quantum travel in, you'll want to just keep, well, I mean, most of the time anyway, you'll want to keep your speed right here below the red line. Okay, because your ship will be much more maneuverable if you're going under this speed. Anything over this speed, you'll be going a lot faster, but you'll be much less maneuverable. And in dogfighting, you want to be as maneuverable as you can. So you'll want to just approach this very slowly. And note that your bounties may not spawn right away. Sometimes it takes less than a minute, sometimes it's 2 or 3 minutes, and in some cases I've waited 5 to 10 minutes for the bounties to spawn. Usually what I do is, instead of just waiting here, I kind of pass the beacon here, and then I just go ahead and just pull a 180, and then I just kind of pace back and forth and wait for the bounty to spawn. Once it does, you'll see that there will be a marker on your HUD, which will show you exactly where to go to find the bounty. At that point, all you need to do is just neutralize the bounty and you're good to go. By the way, as I did mention before, we do have a new Discord online. You can go to discord.io/SSP Gaming if you have any questions, if you're looking for people to play with. We have a great community and we're building it bigger every day, and we would love for you to join us. Okay, so you can see that was actually perfect timing. So we had that little flash there. And that's going to indicate that the bounty is just over there. And as soon as you see it on your HUD, you'll want to press T, which will target it. And just note that you'll probably want to use your lasers and your Gatling cannon and not so much the missiles. So you can lock on with missiles using the middle mouse button. And then once you're locked on, you can hold the middle mouse button in order to launch the missiles. But to be honest, a lot of these battles are very close quarters, so missiles are typically not so great to use unless you have someone that's flying with you. So unless you have a wingman and then one of you has the bounty's attention and the other is able to fire off some missiles. In that case, missiles are great. Otherwise, they're not that fantastic. This guy is actually really fast, so I'm just gonna fire with everything, even though I know that the Gatling cannons are not as great on the shields. And what you're looking for is that little green, as you can see there. So you just want to make sure that you keep that little dot inside the little circle, and that's it. So as soon as you've blown up the bounty, you'll go ahead and collect your reward automatically, and then you can go ahead and move on to more expensive bounties. You should note that sometimes you might get another bounty that spawns after you kill the first one. And in some cases, you can get bonuses for killing the additional bounties. So we're just going to have a look around and see if we can find one. There we go. And you'll notice that this happens quite a bit more with more difficult bounties with very light targets. It's not quite as often that I see... Ooh, big explosion. It's not quite often that I see new targets appearing after the first target's been taken out. But there is a way that you can actually get additional money for killing both players and NPCs that have a crime stat. So what you can do is you can go ahead and go back into your mobiGlas here, go down into your contracts manager, go into the mercenary tab under general, and you'll want to accept this. It's called call to arms. And what this is going to do is whether you kill an NPC or a player, it's going to give you a bonus amount of UEC based on the severity of the crime stat that that particular player or NPC had. So not only are you getting the money for the actual contracts that you're getting from the bounty hunter contracts here, but you're also getting an additional bounty depending on the severity of the crimes that that person or NPC has committed. So it's usually great to have that selected. I personally don't, since I'm not too into bounty hunting, but it's definitely a great way to make a little bit extra money. Okay, so you've made it this far and you want to know how to take advantage of killing players. Well, there's a nice little secret I want to share with you, and it's something that you'll find that probably works very well for you. It doesn't always work. It depends on the number of people that are on the server and how many people are being naughty. But in any case, you can go ahead and open up your map here, and you're looking for Crusader. Go ahead and open up Crusader. Okay, once you've double clicked on that, you want to use your right mouse button to move this around if you need to. Double click on Selling. Okay. And what we're looking for here is this. It's called Security Port Karea. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but essentially this is the place that a lot of criminals go to reset their bounty or to reset their crime stat. So generally what happens is they get a crime stat, they come over here with a crypto key and they try to hack the security system in order to erase their criminal doings, so their criminal history. And whenever that happens, you get a mission in your contract manager under Bounty Hunter that will tell you that there's actually a player that needs to be eliminated. And of course, you'll know that because they'll have a proper name, and you can accept that mission and go hunt them down. But you can be even more proactive by going to hang out around this security post. And in some cases, you might be waiting quite a while, but if the server is busy with people doing naughty things, then you might see that there's quite a lot of people here, and you can rack up quite a good amount of bounties from not just from killing them and getting the bounty that was originally on their heads, but additionally from that other call to arms mission that I showed you earlier, where you can get bonuses depending on the severity of their crime stat. So that's a great place to hang out if you like PvP. There's usually lots of people here, but it depends on the server. Sometimes it's pretty quiet. But it's a nice place to kind of hang out, and you often also get NPCs spawning in the area here as well, so great place to go if you're looking for some action. Well, that's going to do it for me today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did like it and found it useful or helpful, please let me know, and more importantly, let the YouTube algorithm know by dropping a like and making sure to subscribe. It's absolutely free, and I would love to have you as part of the community here. Also, make sure to ring the bell so that you never miss a video from me in the future. Of course, also make sure to join me on stream. I'm streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern, link down below. And of course, join our Discord community if you have some questions or just want to hang out with us, because reasons. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.